Hey, I'd like to welcome you to another episode of Money Matters Top Tips for Success, where each and every day I bring on new business owners, entrepreneurs, and executives and have them share their top tips for success with you. My name is Adam Torres. You can follow me on Instagram at AskAdamTorres to keep up with my book releases, book tour schedule, signings, all that other good stuff. Always love to connect with you there. And as always, if you'd like to apply to become a co-author of one of my upcoming books, just head on over to the website, moneymatterstoptips.com, and click on Become an Author to apply. All right, so today I have Yad Bhatti on the line, and he's founding partner and managing director over at Steadfast Digital NYC. Yad, welcome to the show.
Glad to be here, Adam.
So, Yad, I'm excited to get more into what you're doing over at Steadfast Digital NYC and how you're helping your clients. But before we do that, let's get a little bit further into your background. So how did you get started in business and in your career?
Sure. So my background is a bit diverse, and I've kind of jumped around a bit, which I think is good, will be a bit interesting. I graduated from Rutgers University with a degree in finance, and what I really wanted to do was be kind of like an investment banker, just work on Wall Street. So this was around 2002. I did start working into Wall Street around then. I started working at a bank, Bear Stearns, which, as many people know, is not around anymore. So I started there around 2002, and I left way before the financial crisis. This was around 2005. The money was good. I just didn't like the work. It wasn't satisfying. I just wasn't into it. So around 2005, I was very entrepreneurial, and I had an uncle that was, he had a couple of different businesses, and one of them was real estate development across the Hudson in Jersey City. And that was something I always wanted to be, was kind of like a business owner, kind of like my own operator, et cetera. So basically, while I was working kind of at Bear Stearns, I was trying to learn the real estate industry and how to get into development. What he was doing exactly was buying raw land and developing 2 to 3 family houses on top of them, and either flipping them, meaning basically like once it's finished, you sell them, or keep them and rent them out, depending what the market is doing at that time. So it was relatively, your downside was a little bit hedged in terms of what could happen. So I finally made the leap. I left a high-paying Wall Street job and got into property development in Jersey City. I kind of got a loan pretty quickly. As you know, back then, getting a loan in 2005 was as long as you have a heartbeat, you can pretty much get a loan. So that's exactly what I did. I got a loan, I bought a raw piece of land, and then basically from the learnings that I had from my uncle and a couple of the general contractors that he hired, I would follow them around. I asked a lot of questions, and I slowly but surely built my first house. And then I sold that for a pretty good profit, and moved on to the next, to the next, to the next. So then I left, a pretty lucrative Wall Street career to go into real estate development. As you guys know, things around 2008, 2009, things took a pretty bad turn in terms of what was happening with the housing market and the financial crisis. So I was doing relatively well from 2005 to, let's say, about 2010. I was able to stretch things out. And pretty much, the economy was just terrible. The market was really bad. And I basically went full bankrupt. I just lost, I made a lot of money. I lost it all. If anything, I was negative in terms of net worth because I owed some family members money. And that debt, as you know, never really goes away. So I was pretty much negative net worth. I lost everything in that business around that time. So 2010, 2011. What I did then was I took a little bit of a breather, kind of took some time to myself, did some volunteering work actually in India. I was teaching Tibetan monks how to teach English. That was a really rewarding experience, and it was something that I wanted to do because, I wanted to be, everything was just about me and being kind of selfish. So I wanted to kind of give back a little bit and just kind of clear my head and just get away. So I was in the foothills of the Himalayas teaching Tibetan monks English, which is actually one of the best experiences I have ever done in my life. It was great. It was a great experience. But once I kind of cleared my head, I came back to the States. That was about a few months. So then I came back to the States, and I was really thinking, what should I do next? I heard from some family members, that digital marketing is a really big space, and it's becoming bigger and bigger every year. So I literally started from the bottom. I started taking certifications in terms of getting certified in Google Ads. Facebook wasn't really around then. that much in terms of advertising. So it was pretty much Google and Bing in terms of what you can do in terms of a career. So I took certifications online. I literally just learned everything from the ground up, became certified in Google, became certified in Bing. I really didn't have a lot of contacts in the industry, in digital marketing. So I just, put together a resume. I just sent them out as many people network as I could on LinkedIn, whatever it was, just get my resume out there. I went on a bunch of interviews. Finally, there was this one small agency that kind of took a chance on me, and that's where I kind of started digital marketing. So the money I was making there on my first year of digital marketing was not even close to the money I was making on Wall Street 10 years before. So you could imagine like how far of a bottom I really started in the digital marketing space. So I worked my way up from a small agency, then worked with some of the biggest agencies in New York City, 360i at the time, then moved over to Elite SEM, which is now Tenuity, then eventually ended up teaching at NYU as an adjunct professor. So I taught there for a couple of years, for students who really want to learn what digital marketing it is, how it works. And it even works well for people who are established in marketing. They know a lot more about traditional marketing, but they want to learn more about digital. So I've literally had students that were from out of the country from 20 years old to people that, have always been in the U.S. and they're probably in their 50s and they need to learn what digital marketing is. So that was a great experience, was teaching as well. And then from there is kind of where I got to my role now, is where I started Steadfast Digital, which was about, I would say, 4 years ago.
Wow, what an amazing story. And I'm thinking you everywhere from Wall Street to development to monks to digital marketing. You cover this. This is awesome. And I agree, you do have a interesting background. I think it is very helpful. And one of the things that I'd like to ask is, and there's some younger entrepreneurs listening now who are maybe on that first business, or hey, maybe the first business went south. And now you have the benefit of hindsight, on your side. You have a lot more experience under your belt, and obviously, and you've been in business now for yourself now, over 4 years. What kind of advice would you give to that young entrepreneur that's really just getting started back where Yad was when he first graduated?
Yeah, so I had a lot of pushback. So, for example, I come from an immigrant family, and when I told my dad about this, leaving Wall Street and going into real estate development with my uncle, he's like, "Are you crazy?" He's like, "You're making really good money. It's a safe industry. Like, why would you do this? You're taking a big risk." I just knew it in my bones that I just couldn't work in an office 9 to 5. Actually, back then it was probably like 9 to 9 all day long and just do that as a living. I always wanted to be my own operator. So, and I know a lot of young entrepreneurs are probably having that same pressure, whether it's from a mom or dad, it's from a brother, it might be from some friends. You just have to go with your gut and be prepared for the worst. If you really believe deep down that that's what you want to do, take the risk. Especially if you're young. At that time I was, let's say, 25. You can take so much risk when you're in your 20s, because you could literally start over in your 30s and you still have plenty of time. And that's exactly what I did. So my biggest advice is, especially if you're in your 20s and deep down what you want to be and what you want to do, take the risk, because you have so much time left in what you can achieve.
That's awesome. Great advice, Yad. Let's switch it up. I want to get into what you're doing over at Steadfast Digital NYC. So first, tell me a little bit more about the business, please.
Yeah, so here at Steadfast Digital, we're a small boutique agency. We help companies basically advertise online, whether that's using Google Ads, using Facebook, Instagram, using paid content like Taboola and Outbrain. So basically any type of form of paid advertising that you're trying to do online to bring traffic to a website, that's what we help companies do. So we've worked with a lot of direct-to-consumer companies that, a bunch of them have been on Shark Tank. We've worked with a lot of emerging brands, like big established brands, Fortune 500 companies as well. So, using paid search, paid social, paid content, that's what we help companies do.
And so, what are the what's kind of the sweet spot? Is there a certain niche you work with, or is it a size of company? If somebody's listening to this, they obviously love your story. I know I love it, and they are thinking if they're a good fit in terms of a client for Steadfast Digital NYC. What's your sweet spot there?
Yeah, the great thing about digital marketing is that if you know it well, it can be applied to any industry, whether you're in travel, whether you're in education, whether you're e-commerce. B2B, it really doesn't matter. If you know how to use Google Ads, Facebook advertising, all that stuff in the proper way, and you're very nuanced in it, it can apply to any industry. So in terms of industry, there really isn't a sweet spot, because I've literally in my past, I would say in the 10 years, I worked in pretty much every single vertical. But most of our clients, I would say, in terms of annual revenue, are between 10 to 100 million. And of course, in the agency world, I work with like really large brands who have massive marketing budgets. But usually, like 10 to 100 million in terms of annual revenue of what they're doing now is the average kind of client that we have. And in terms of e-com, I would say probably like half of our clients are e-com. So we're very well versed in direct to consumer and the e-com space. Quite a bit of B2B and lead generation clients as well. And then, of course, we've had plenty in travel and education and other verticals.
Any kind of, since you're really obviously self-taught and then went on to being a teacher, right, at NYU and teaching others what you know, so you are the real deal. Are there any kind of trends that you care to comment on in general or in digital marketing in general, from your vantage point?
Yeah, the biggest trend, it moves slow, but it also moves fast, which I know kind of sounds contradictory. Like, for example, Facebook advertising. The platform that you see now is very different from the platform that you might have seen 5 years ago. So consistently being up to date is crucial. Even though a lot of basics and the foundations don't change a lot, but being up to date with the latest ad formats, being up to date with like how the newest features and betas are working is very crucial. So it's constant studying with digital marketing, because things go obsolete relatively quickly, but the basics are usually still there. But let's say, for example, I don't use Google Ads or Facebook for the next year. I don't even go into the platform. I don't even look at it. There's going to be a lot of stuff that's going to come out, and I'm going to be kind of lost. I'll know 70% of it, but there's that important 30% of the new stuff that I don't know. That's so much better now. So digital marketing, it moves slow that way, but it also moves fast, where you need to be educated constantly, because almost on a daily, weekly basis, there's something new happening.
Yeah, I completely agree. And if you're not doing it daily or weekly, like you mentioned, even for people that aren't heavy in digital marketing, just look at something like your Facebook page or Facebook platform. They add new boxes, they add a new inbox, all these things all the time, and you're like, wow, when did this take place? I haven't been in here in a month, and that's not even that's like as low as it gets on the rung of actual participating in the digital marketing thing. So yeah, if somebody's listening to this and they want more information on Steadfast Digital NYC, what's the best way for them to follow up?
I think the best way is LinkedIn. So you can always contact me on LinkedIn. I'm at Yad Bhatti. So that's YADBHATTI. That's probably the best way to get in contact with me.
Fantastic. Well, Yad, really appreciate you coming on the show today and sharing more about your background and all the great work you're doing over at Steadfast Digital NYC. And to the audience, as always, thank you for tuning in. I hope you got a lot of value out of this. If you did, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast, leave me a review on the Apple iTunes Store, share this with your friends, family, colleagues. Do all those great things we do to support our podcasters. I really do appreciate it. And Yad, thanks again for coming on the show.